Thanks so much for joining us today on Feelin Good, sponsored by Warren County Community Services. I'm your host, Shelly Abrams, and I am beyond excited today to introduce to you my friend and artist per excellence, Pat Buckley Moss, or as many of you might know from her signature on her artwork, P. Buckley Moss. And here we are at the Canada Goose Gallery in Waynesville, Ohio. Pat, welcome to Feelin Good, and I'm feeling good because I'm here with you.
Well, I'm feeling very good because I've traveled and it's been a beautiful day to see you.
Well, when you say you travel, tell our audience from whence you traveled.
Well, I had spent the weekend in Hilton Head and I drove home yesterday. And then we got up this morning and left about 6.
So you were in Hilton Head in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then you drove back to your home
and it's warmer here.
And it's warmer here than in Hilton Head. That says that the weather has been crazy this year.
Crazy.
But your home is actually where?
My home is in Blacksburg, Virginia, and Waynesboro, Virginia. I live in both of those places, and I have my galleries of my own in those places. But I've been with Laura here at Canada Goose Gallery for, over 30 years.
And how did you meet Laura?
Oh, that's a story.
That's a story.
Have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
Well, we were showing at an international show, a plate show. I was showing my porcelains. And Laura's about the only one that has some of them, and they're wonderful. We had a wonderful producer. He was German, and he produced in Bavaria, and his name was Klaus Vogt, and he was a charming young man. And she came to the show, and she said, "I want to carry your work. I want to have it open a gallery." And I said, "Oh, you're crazy. You just don't say that. I want to open a gallery." I said, "You don't frame. You don't do any of these things." I said, "What do you do?" She said, "Well, I'm a beautician." I said, "Well, that's good. That's very good because you know what it is to look at something very beautiful and work things out, a hairdo. So it's also something that can relate to framing and matting and things like that." But she traveled with us for a couple of days. We were going on to some other shows up on the lake, and she opened it up, and she is just an elegant framer.
Do you remember how many years ago approximately that was?
It had to be at least 30 years that we've been together.
37.
37, when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, I guess so. 37 years. So it was really a chance meeting.
It was a chance meeting for us.
Uh-huh.
She probably was deliberate. She probably knew what she was coming for, because they're very big shows, those international shows, and it's been a delight. She's like my daughter.
Well, speaking of that, that is who brought you here, correct?
Yes, one of my daughters. I have 4 daughters, and I had 2 sons. One is gone, but I had a big family, and it's been a marvelous thing. You know, I love my kids. They're all different, and they're all their own people, and I couldn't ask for anything better.
Wonderful. Well, tell us a little bit about you, in terms of where were you born?
I was born in Staten Island, New York. I'm a New Yorker. I went to school there. I should say I failed my way through school there. I'm very dyslexic, and so we didn't know what I was, why I couldn't learn when I was a child. So they just called me, kind of dumb. And it was a hard thing to cope with, but I knew I wasn't stupid. So, and my mother knew I wasn't stupid. So my mother found a school for me in New York City where I had 4 periods of art a day, and I was very happy. It just made me very happy to have my 4 periods of art. The school was on a city block. It was 11 floors, and on the top floor, they had a music. And if you played the violin, you could take lessons. Well, I didn't have a violin, but I wanted to play the violin so badly that I went up and I used to make believe I played the violin and try to
The fingerings and
the
so forth.
fingerings. I'd come across on the ferry boat from Staten Island, and I'd be going, you know. But they found me out very quickly because you really have to have a violin to study the violin.
Well, tell me about what age was this when you started your art education?
I think I started my art education in grammar school because I really did not succeed at anything. We were in an automobile accident very early in my life, and I was in a hospital for quite some time, so I missed a lot of school.
Mhm.
1 year, so I missed a year of school. And after that, I was just kind of a dreamer. Don't look out the window all the time. You know, this is what teachers used to say. Come on, you know. And then someone read one of my teachers read one of my compositions out loud, and I had spelled everything wrong. She said this is the worst composition in the whole class, and I never wrote another one. I never did another thing in that class, I don't think.
So I'm wondering if those teachers have seen what you've achieved now in your life.
I think they have. You know, I think it was a Catholic school, and I've been given the Fulton Sheen Award
Mhm.
because they didn't understand, and you can't blame people for not understanding.
Right.
You have to, and I didn't understand, but you know, you do the best with what you've got, and the best advice, people always say, well, how do you become successful? I said, you work hard. You just work hard at something you really love. You know, if you love to work at anything, if you love to work at framing, I think Laura is the best framer in the country. She's just elegant, and that's what I like in framing. I don't like all the frilly dills, you know.
Well, that's quite a compliment and recommendation coming from you because you visit many different galleries
Many different,
throughout the
and I love
country.
every one of them. They're really wonderful people. But my favorite frame is here.
Very good.
I even bid on one of my pieces once that she put in an auction because I liked the way she framed it.
There you go. When you bid on your own artwork because you like the frame,
Yeah.
that really says something about the framing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so interested in the fact that even though in school you felt academically challenged, that the art world actually opened up a whole new array of opportunities
It
for you.
did. It did. You're right. And it gave me something to talk about to children. I used to go out to schools. If I came to a show, they had to arrange a school for me with kids with learning differences, and I would go out and speak to those kids. And I said, you just concentrate on what you love to do, and you work hard at it, and that's what you do. And, well, what happens if people call you dummy, dummy, dummy? I said, well, you feel sorry for them because they don't know any better. They don't know that you're not stupid, that you just have a learning difference, a learning difference. So we give scholarships. The Moss Foundation gives scholarships to kids with learning differences because they're the kids that never get them. And we also give grants to teachers who work with children with learning differences.
I love the way you say learning differences.
Yeah, they're learning differences.
Very good.
And they're not, I mean, you can have someone who gets straight A's and might not know a thing about living, but a kid that has been put down and put down knows a lot about living and knows a lot about being kicked around a little bit, you know. So you find very successful people who have had learning differences
Oh,
or who have. I still read billboards everywhere. And when my kids were little, they'd be in the car with their friends, and I'd hear them say, "Watch, Mom's going to read this billboard, and it's going to be all wrong." And And I'd be driving the car into the kids, and I'd read the billboard out loud.
And that was kind of a
My thing.
a significant
Yeah. Yeah.
achievement
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. It made me concentrate and try the hardest to read those signs and know what they meant.
Well, and with dyslexia, my understanding is it's like you have to decode something that looks like it's in a coded form and flip letters around and
It sounds, you know, that can explain it, because sometimes you'll read something and you think, what did that mean? Oh, I have to read it all the way over again. I have to read it again. So you'll read the whole thing over again. I didn't get it. And you read it over again and over and over and over. And I did the same thing with college. I transcribed and illustrated Thomas Aquinas' book on man with calligraphy and illustrations. And in doing that, you really have to concentrate, because if you learn this page or this page, you've got to do this page and this page over again, because it's a foursome in a book. You know, when you're putting a book together.
So okay, I have so many things I'd like to ask you. Okay, so when you started with the artwork, were you a doodler? I mean, did you doodle at home on notebook paper or in school?
I sat in school while everyone was home, and I drew the trees outside. We had big windows in the school, and trees were beautiful outside. And I would just draw the trees, and that was what I liked to do. Yeah, and I didn't need a lot of friends around me either. When winter came, I would go ice skating alone in the swamp in Staten Island. Staten Island is very swampy, and so if you had rain and it was flooded and it froze, you had all this beautiful ice to yourself, and that was beautiful. I loved all that. I loved the trees.
Good. Well, is that where your style, I don't know, what would you call, your style is varied, but anytime, I mean, I'm a fan, and anytime I see your work, even if
You know it.
I know it,
Yeah.
it has like a flow to it.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when you work every single day and you develop something. So you start with this and you develop it more and more. I mean, I love horses. My mother promised me if I got straight A's, I could have a horse. Well, I would never get, I don't even fail. I mean, I failed everything. I didn't pass anything. So, but I couldn't, I had to paint the horses. And that's what I did. And so my horses are different. And I know if anyone copies my horse. So everything is copyrighted.
Well, okay, so you were doodling and you were drawing.
Doodling is drawing and painting.
Yes.
Doodling is your art. Doodling is what is in your head, and it's what you develop. It's very important to be a doodler.
Yes. When I say doodling, just because I know there's a lot to be said.
Yeah, there is.
For looking and helping your children, your grandchildren, people that you know that enjoy drawing. That's why I said drawing in the margins or on a napkin, or, something.
You know, I have a friend who is a poet, and she's a famous poet. Her name is Nikki Giovanni. If I see a collection of words that I love, if I think of them, I write them down right away, because I'll lose them. I might get other words that are beautiful, but those words turn me on, and I really love them. So I don't know how Nikki works, but I know that her writing is so simple and so beautiful. I love her. I love how she writes.
Well, so you were starting with the artwork in grammar school, and then proceeded in junior high. You've got something here.
Nuts.
In junior high and high school, again, the art and artwork.
I was before junior high school.
Okay.
We never had junior high school. Okay. You went to 8th grade in in your little Catholic school, and then you went on to a high school.
Okay. And on to high school, and then you said you went to college.
Yes,
And
and I love that college. I love the attitude. It was in New York City. It was near me. Now remember, I failed everything, right? And I was in a school, special school, and I decided that I was going to that college. It's a free college. You are only chosen for it. They don't know your name. They don't know your circumstances. You cannot pay to go to this college, but it's a working school. It's a school where if you don't work, you're asked to leave.
oh,
So you can be getting straight A's, but not getting anything out of being in the class. And you can say, you're not ready to stay here. Go, you know.
well, so then you worked while you were going to college then? Did you?
I work summers.
Okay.
I work summers. I was just talking to my kids about one of the places I worked. I waited on tables in the mountains in Pennsylvania, and we had a ball, and it was a real dump. I mean, it was so old. Everything was wood, and I mean, even the little tables were made, the little chairs were made, and it was charming, dumpy. I mean, it wasn't first class,
Okay.
but it was wonderful. It was just a wonderful place to work, and the kids were all from everywhere. So
And that was in the mountains in
in the mountains of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah, it
I
was.
think everyone should wait tables at some point in their life, don't you?
Yeah, you learn a lesson.
You sure do.
Don't go to Canada and wait on tables. They are the cheapest tippers.
Well, what I found when I was in college, I waited tables a couple summers with a couple of girlfriends, and it was out on the shore.
Oh, that's
It was
nice.
in Stone Harbor.
Oh,
And we knew the families of the girls were out there as well. And we worked at the stakeout. So we were open from 4 in the afternoon till 4 in the morning.
oh my
Because
God.
of people being on the beach, they would not come in for dinner sometimes until after 10 o'clock. So you had two shifts, 4 to 10,
How are your feet?
10 to 4. Well, I will say that you really made, you, like you were talking about the tips, you really earned your tips because you were really on the move all the time.
Oh, you do earn your tips when you're a waitress.
Yes.
Honestly, you really do. And that's why I say don't go work in Canada. They have no idea. I had a surgeon and his son who was a surgeon. And after 4 weeks there, they left me $20. 4 weeks, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Well, and you're still talking about them. So we
No,
don't
it's
know.
interesting.
Right.
It's just
right.
interesting.
Well,
You know,
I found that waiting tables on other waiters and waitresses, they were the best customers because they
they
knew how
know
hard
what
you
it
were
takes,
working.
right?
Yes, yes,
My son, the chef, always tipped very well, and his wife.
yes.
They really, because they knew what it was. She always had bear to eat, and it was just hard. But I loved it. I had good friends, and you said you have a couple of girlfriends you go with, and I had a couple of girlfriends from school, and we just had a great time. My mother had a summer home across the river, and she was in Pennsylvania. That was in New York State. It was just across the river.
Uh-huh.
But and we used to go back there, for a night or so, our day off.
Right,
We'd
right.
all go back and swim in the river there.
Okay, okay. Well, let's talk about the artwork a little bit more because I'd be interested in knowing um, the subjects of your work. Now, here in the gallery, and we will take a look at some of the artwork later on in the show, but there are definite themes.
Yes.
How do you sort of zero in on what theme for different pieces of art?
Well, I love gardening,
Okay.
and it's very difficult in the house that I've just bought. A couple of years ago, I just bought a mid-century modern, and I adore the house. I left the biggest log cabin on the lake in Radford, Virginia, for this little house but it's in Blacksburg, and it's convenient to my gallery, and the light that comes into the house is a joy. But I love flowers, and I love growing anything. If I'm out and I have something in a Thai restaurant and there's a hot pepper, I'll take the seeds and put them in a napkin, and I'll try to grow them, and I'll get something from it. And it's great fun. No, it's just great fun.
Right.
But this house, every morning there are 13 deer in my yard.
Really?
And they're under my kitchen window, and they're in my driveway, and they're everywhere. So if I'm going to have anything, it's going to have to be on the deck.
I was going to say we'll probably be seeing more deers in your paintings.
No, but but I love it.
But you have them in real life.
And I have a house in Italy. So Italy, for my house, it's in Tuscany, and it's in the town of Cortona. And you look down on the valley, and sometimes it's full of sunflowers, and sometimes it's full of poppies, and sometimes, they're just seasons. And I have a friend, Jenny, and she'll say, "Is that the poppy season that you're going in?"
Oh.
It's beautiful.
So as a result, I'm looking at
the flowers.
And you have the sunflowers. And all the different.
And I have 6 children, so we have cats.
Okay.
Cats and dogs.
Okay.
And you will see cats in every way. They're mischievous, and they're all over the place, and they're everywhere.
I do see many cats.
Yeah.
And I see many different types of birds. And maybe, and I know one of your favorites is to your left.
Oh, I love this. These roost in a big evergreen across the water from my kitchen window in Matthews, Virginia.
Okay.
And I put a great big picture window in there, like a store window. And my accountant said, "Why are you putting a big window?" I said, "Wait and see. You see the whole action of the area and the birds, and there's a kingfisher that comes back every year and fishes there, and you have all the swans come and have their babies there, and the Canada geese have their babies there. It's beautiful."
So do you take photos and then draw based on the photos, or do you just actually start sketching when you see something?
You do both.
Okay.
And actually, the best thing for you is if you can do the sketch right there. If you can do a sketch right there. I've done lots and lots of buildings, and if I can just get a quick sketch of it and get a feeling for it, it would be wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you actually, you always have a sketch pad with you?
I do, and I'll be taking a sketch pad to Europe. I have one with me here. So I put it in this morning.
Very good.
Before I left. And, they're just things that you have to get at the moment. It's like a photograph. If you're photographing, you can take photographs all day long. But if you just happen to be there when the thing is right, when the bird is in the right position, when something is really, really good, is that not true? Is it not true?
Right.
It's true.
Right.
You really, if you can catch it, then it's great.
Well, I'm from North Central Ohio, and across Route 30, is the Amish country, and many of the themes of your prints featured the Amish, and that was something that really drew my attention.
I so admire them. I went to Africa with them. They invited me to come.
Really?
Yes, I've earned a lot of money for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me to come, and I said, "Oh, I can stay home and paint." And my husband said, "Go, go." It was a great experience. Mm-hmm. It was great. We slept in tents. We didn't go first class. There wasn't any first class where we were, but a tent was first class. Okay. And you zip up the tent in the back to your little bathroom area, and you zip up the tent in the front, and nothing is allowed in. my husband went out in the middle of the night. I think I've told this story a few times, but I'll tell it again because I love it, and I love telling it to kids.
Uh-huh.
And he unzipped the tent, and he went out to the bathroom. He came back in, and he didn't zip the tent, and he went to bed. And in the morning, I felt this terrible feeling that I couldn't move. I felt, oh, what did I eat? I'm paralyzed. This is terrible. Could not move. I was just held still. And I try to open my eyes, and I'm sleeping, and the opening of the tent is down there and down at my feet. And I'm trying to open my eyes, and I finally open my eyes, and sitting on top of me and holding me down is a big, big baboon.
Oh, my.
And I looked at that big, ugly face, and he looked at my big, ugly face. and finally I said, whoa. And finally he went.
And that scared
But
me.
he took my hairbrushes, toothbrushes.
Really?
He took everything.
That is quite a unique story. No wonder you couldn't move.
No, you couldn't move. I mean, he was a big, heavy thing, and he held you tight.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't even do that.
Right.
You know, he was.
Well, I'm sure that you.
I love telling that to the kids.
I was going to say.
They're fascinated.
I'm fascinated.
Well, they said, weren't you scared? I said, no, you didn't have time to be scared.
Right, right. Well, I'm sure you've had so many adventures.
Well, not like that one.
Not like that one necessarily.
No, but we have.
You're getting ready for another adventure, a travel adventure.
Yes, we travel once a year. I take a vacation. I don't always want to go. I like to stay home and work. I love work, but it is my children make me go, and it's great. And a lot of friends come with us. There are about 50 of us. Karen is coming with another friend, and but it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and if it's Italy, I'm happy. We went to Sicily last year, and the things that we experienced and saw in Sicily were things that you never hear about, and you never see. You never see the work that the slaves did, who worked all those, the amphitheaters and things.
Mm-hmm.
One of those amphitheaters turned into an ocean, so they had an ocean play, with small boats, and they had to handle all of that.
Huh.
But the home that they built for themselves, because they were prisoners, and it was underneath a whole plateau, and they excavated it out, and then the walls in the back they carved, and it was so beautiful. And the shape, if you're a person this big, the cave was like this. It was like the top of a leaf or something, very graceful, very beautiful, and they carved it all around sideways. And then if you looked inside, the floor was all carved, and there was more carved. Oh God, it was so beautiful.
So they would have had to have really been artisans.
They would have had to be artisans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would have had to be artisans. Mm-hmm. And why not? It doesn't matter where you're from or who you are. If you have a joy of doing that kind of thing, you're going to do it.
Right.
It's like sketching.
Yes.
And
well, did you go up the coast? I know I went one time to Italy with a group, and we went to the Amalfi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My friends love the Amalfi. Mm-hmm. They absolutely adore it. I'm not as crazy about it because it's too crowded. it's so crowded. Mm-hmm. Years ago, I went to the Amalfi, and it wasn't that crowded.
Right. Well, I went several years ago, and it didn't necessarily seem to be as crowded. Certainly not.
You're not as old as I am.
As the cities. But we did go to Florence. And
yeah.
I loved Florence. And
Florence
Venice,
is beautiful.
And Venice, of course, so.
Tuscany is beautiful.
I have not been to Tuscany.
My house looks down on the valley. You know the story of Hannibal and the pushing the Romans into the lake? Well, my house looks down on that lake and the mountain where he came around and pushed them in. And then across the valley, I can see Montepulciano. It looks like a white marble, and it's not marble, it's just white stone, but it's beautiful. And the sun shines on that first thing in the morning, and it's just so beautiful. Life is beautiful.
Yes, yes.
No matter where you are, driving here from Virginia was beautiful.
Well, I have to say that your artwork, um, whatever the subject of the artwork, makes me smile when I see it, even online, because you do on Facebook, your posts on Facebook and so forth, and I just love.
I've got to tell you a story.
Okay.
I went to the dentist years ago. He was a gum surgeon, and he said, and I sat in his office, and I got very nervous, and I didn't, and then I figured out why. He had these red paintings with slashes of black in them, and I was a wreck. I mean, I'm going in for gum surgery,
Right.
and I have all this, the red and the black, and I get in there, and I said, they're very nerve-wracking paintings. So years later, he comes to my gallery and into my house in Florida. And this was in Charlottesville, where he was. And he said, I should have taken your advice years ago. I should have got one of your calm paintings. I said, yes, you really should.
Yes, yes. There is a calming effect.
Oh, there is.
With your paintings.
I had 6 children that had to be calming.
Well, I appreciate your time and sharing your talent with all of us.
Oh, I appreciate you.
And we hope that you're feeling good, and we'll see you soon.
We're feeling good.
Bye for now.